everybody. Hope you're doing well. STARJUMP Shipyard. Nice to see everybody. It is. The hell day is it? I don't know what day. It's Wednesday.
Day.
It's Wednesday. We're
It's a
back
day.
to Wednesdays now because CIG dropped it behind the ships. You all remember I used to try to plan shows for Wednesday. Then we moved to Thursday. And then the schedule's been all over
Terrible
the
idea.
place. So yeah, we're back. Oh, I'm on the wrong mic. They said. Yep, thank you. I knew I was forgetting something. I just said I was forgetting something. It was my mic. But see, here's the thing. I love my chat because they knew. They knew right away. They knew right away. I was on the wrong mic. They got me. They got my back. Anyways, nice to see everybody. Hope you're doing well. I'm pretty sure you can hear me okay now. The chat hasn't quite caught up with the fix. There we go. Ben says nice. Okay, cool. Thanks everybody. Nice to see you all. It is STARJUMP Shipyard. It is Wednesday the 26th. Nice to see everybody. Lots to talk about tonight. A lot to talk about. That's I'm actually kind of glad I canceled the show the other day because it just allowed some news to kind of build up in the Star Citizen verse, So lots to talk about. We're going to go over a few things. First and foremost, though, I want to shout out the sponsors. Okay, I'm going to shout out the sponsors, and to do that, I actually have to switch to
Are you only screen?
Huh?
Are you only screen?
Yeah, I know. I got to see. I don't know if I have. Let me check something really quick. Everybody. Checking something. Okay, it is correct. Okay, cool. Let me switch off studio mode. Okay, cool. Here we go. Going to switch over here. It's time to get some sponsors, and my sponsor thing is already rolling. But anyway, I'm a mess tonight, everyone. As you can see, I skipped a day, and now I'm totally off my sort of pre-planning stuff here. I usually try to get as much set up before the show as possible, but it doesn't always happen. So anyways, want to hit the sponsors. Obviously, they support the show and do great things to help support the STARJUMP Summit and many other things. First and foremost, iconcity.com. Obviously, James over there, longtime STARJUMP supporter. Big shout out to him for always supporting the show, supporting what I do. You can use the code STARJUMP over there. You can get a discount on icon packs for stream decks, for games, for streaming, includes Star Citizen, Flight Simulator, many, many other games. Check it out. Arma, whatever you want, they have it. But yeah, go over to iconcity.com, use the code STARJUMP. It will get you a little discount. I appreciate it. They appreciate it. It's all good. Next, pigeonspaceport.com. Go over there. You can also use the code STARJUMP. Okay. They've got the ABS injection molded Scorpius models. Go give them a look. Good people. They supported us during the St. Jude thing as well. So go give them a little bit of love. They make some really cool stuff. If you've ever been to a Citizen Con or stuff and seen the big, the Retribution model or any of that kind of stuff, you will know Pigeon Spaceport. They also did a big Port Olisar model. It was really, really cool. Next, of course, Beam Eye Tracker. Beam Eye Tracker, make sure you go support them. I have an affiliate link, which I'll post into chat now. Beam Eye Tracker is a great way to experience the head tracking stuff that you've seen in Tobii and Track IR. But this gives you an option to experience that via just your webcam. It's all software based. And is a great low-cost solution to try out head tracking. Again, go to their website, use the code STARJUMP. You get a kickback, I get a kickback. It's all good. Really appreciate that support. And then, of course, our newest sponsor, MTSim, Monster Tech, supporting us in some big ways for the summit. I've got VKB mounts that will be given away. We've got a Drake Raider flight chair. Let me swing over to that because it's just super cool. I got to bring it up. Got a Drake Raider flight chair that will be given away at the summit. I want to do a shout out to Mootkins. Shout out to Christian over there for their support in trying to make the summit a really, really cool event. But they're one of the sponsors. You can go to Monster Tech or MTSim and what's the web address? MTSim.com and use the code STARJUMP. You get a little discount on your order. So make sure you do that. They are great supporters. So shout out to them. I don't know if Mootkins is in chat tonight, but if you aren't Mootkins and you're watching this later, salute to you, buddy. Hope you and Crucian are doing well. So that is the sponsors tonight. Everyone wanted to give them a shout out. What else do we have to go over? Well, I got art here, so you all know it's going to be a fun show. 17 days to launch. Are we down to 17 days? Is that all it is?
We're 17 days, sir. No pressure.
That's scary. That's a little bit scary. That's scary. Yeah, Mr. Scooter, $1,100 for a chair, but that chair that you saw at the $1,100 price tag has haptics and other crazy stuff in it. Really, really nice. So very high quality stuff. Real quick, I don't usually do this on the show, but I wanted to say it here. It's been a sad week. Dolly Parton died. So did Tim Curry. They died on the same day at the same age of 80. And the funny thing about that, well, it's not funny, but well, it is kind of funny, is that there's a neat little connection between the two, and that in relation to me and my wife, which is my wife's favorite actor probably is Tim Curry. Her favorite movie is Clue. We have a big Clue poster in the basement. We have a room in our house sort of set up like the Clue house. She's a big Tim Curry fan. And then on the Dolly Parton side, I used to work for Dolly Parton for a number of years. I've worked on some of her documentaries with her, met her on numerous occasions. She's an incredibly sweet lady in person. She was exactly how she is in public, behind the scenes. I can tell you that because I would meet her in like production meetings and at private screenings and stuff when we were working on the film. And she was literally the same person. It wasn't like an actor or character. That was who she was. For those of you that don't know, I know a lot of people know that I worked in film and television. I also, for a period of time, worked in the music industry to some degree. So I worked for a lot of interesting artists like Dolly Parton and Neil Diamond and Blondie and other artists. And Dolly was definitely a standout and one that I remember fondly. Just a really cool lady. Been a long time since I've seen her. I think the last time I hung out with her in like a private setting was probably like 2006. So quite a while, like 20 years. But it was really, really cool. It was really cool. And it was a big moment for me, being a kid from, short little story, being originally from the South. I moved to New York City. I had a Southern accent still, you know, and in New York City, everyone would be like, "Are you from the South?" Because they'd hear my accent. But when I met Dolly for the first time, which I met her in New York, she said, "Where are you from?" I told her, and she put her arm around me, and I can't remember her exact words, but it was something like, "Oh, you're one of my kin," or something like that, because we were surrounded by like New Yorkers at the time. So it's kind of a fun little story I thought I would share. So, Night Fisher 6 says, "Damn, is it just me or does art look sexy today? Damn, tone it down, Space Daddy." Man,
All right, I'm going to have to start banning some of my guildmates. They're
Yeah.
not allowed to be in here anymore.
Yeah. Next thing I want to call out, I don't usually do this too much either, but as you all know, Nepal has had some horrific flooding. I was watching some of the video today, and it was just insane. I mean, it looked like a disaster. It looked like the 2012 disaster film, or like Day After
I was
Tomorrow.
gonna say, it looks CI. It looked like it was CGI, almost like that scale of just halfway up a mountain. And
Yeah,
your brain just can't comprehend it.
Unbelievable. So obviously, prayers out to all of them, everyone dealing with that. Just really, I didn't realize, I was actually kind of like speechless to some degree, and yeah, just really, really horrible. And yeah, take a moment, you know, when all the drama that's happening in the gaming world right now and all the negativity going on right now, just remember there's some horrific shit happening in the world, and try to remember the good stuff you have, the positive stuff, and don't get dwelled down all those like minor things that we think make life stressful. Sometimes there is some truly crazy shit going on out there. So, okay, let's move off of that though, and let's move to STARJUMP and Star Citizen related stuff. We got a number of things to go through. First and foremost though, go ahead and get this out of the way. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay, there we go. First and foremost,
are you good?
I'm good
sure
now.
good?
We're going to talk about the
Okay.
Stingray, of course, today, everyone, but I am doing a giveaway courtesy of Cloud Imperium Games. They have sent me a Stinger 2 giveaway. This one comes with LTI and a game package. If you want to get in on that, I have a Gleam link pinned to both chats. Go to the Gleam link. It's free to enter. You know how we do it. Yes, I like using Gleam because it takes the person's email anonymously and I can contact them and verify them easily. A lot of people ask me, why don't I use this method or that method or this method? Gleam is the one process that eliminates the spam and fishy entries better than any other platform, which is why I use it. Okay, so
we've had that before.
Which we've had that. So
we've caught it a few times.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, for sure. So I did want to shout out CIG, by the way, for providing the ship to give away. I know they've had some rough press lately, but do want to thank them for sending the ship my way to give to you all on the eve of the 4.10 release. Okay. So get in on that. Gleam links are pinned to chat. Get in on that while you can. I'll be giving that ship away on Monday, this coming Monday. Okay, so you have some time to get your entries in, but this coming Monday, we'll give it away live on stream. Okay. All right. Next bit of news I wanted to cover. It's time to talk briefly about the STARJUMP Summit. As you know, we're quickly approaching this event. Hopefully, those of you that are coming are excited. Salty Bulldog, thank you for the follow. Orion followed a little bit ago too. Thank you for that. Gleam is telling you too many entries at 0 entry. Interesting. I'll have to look at that. I don't know why it would be saying that. Maybe someone else can try it. Tell me. But STARJUMP Summit quickly approaching. I did put a new tab up on the website called Schedule. For those of you coming, there is a schedule of events posted on the website. Okay. For those of you coming, we do have it pretty planned out. It's going to be a day chock full of stuff. Not that you have to watch or pay attention to all of it, but this is kind of how it's going to work. We're going to have attendee check-in. We're going to have an opening welcome. We're going to kick things off with a big old set of raffles and giveaways. We're then going to do a STARJUMP Fleet Viewer presentation on how it's made. Then we'll have a Thrusters and Dust live show, Secrets Behind the Hangar Door. We'll then do a STARJUMP Summit Creator Roundtable event, which is going to be a lot of fun. Solus and Dusty Star and the Astropub and Griffin Gaming RPG will be on there. We'll be doing sort of a roundtable. Then we'll do another set of raffles. Then we're going to do a Fleet Viewer contest voting, which will be happening throughout the day, but we'll do a big voting block at that time. Then we're going to do a Know Your Fleet live contest. More info on that very soon. That's something Art is spearheading. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then we're going to do a big final round of raffles and giveaways. Yes, we got a ton of shit to raffle off. Okay, if you're coming, there's a high likelihood you're going to win something. And then at the end of the day, we'll be doing closing remarks and a big giant group photo so that hopefully CIG can post it up later the next week. And then obviously later that night, there will be sort of a little after party at a bar nearby. Okay. So Larry, thank you for the follow. Anyways, the schedule is up there. If you want to check it out, just go to starjumpsummit.com, look for the tab that says schedule, take a peek, and you can kind of see everything that is planned. I can tell you that things have really started coming together. We've said this a few times. We're really kind of getting down to that end game now. We're having regular production meetings with the STARJUMP Strike Team, with VIPs that are coming. All the swag bags are getting put together. I'm going to tell you right now, for those of you coming, I really do think these are the best swag bags I've seen for an event in a while. I don't know what the value is of them, like individually, but if I had to put it at a number, just based off how much things have cost and what's going into them, each swag bag is probably like a $50 value, $50 to $60 value, like at a bare minimum. Okay. So I think you're going to like them a lot. Including, I'm not going to show you the back of this because the back is the special thing, but Dusty Star from Thrusters and Dust is going to be one of our special guests. He's got something that's going in every swag bag. I'm just going to give a brief little thing. You can see it kind of here. It says Thrusters and Dust, says STARJUMP Summit Special Edition. I'm not going to show you the back because that's where the really cool thing is. You'll have to just wait and see. but everybody will have one of these in their swag bags, and they are unique. They are unique. None of them are the same. They're all unique. But where am I going with that? There's a lot of cool stuff. So that being said, I think it's time to jump into some things. We are going to go over a number of things tonight. This, obviously, the Stingray's big new ship. Obviously, we're a ship-related show. We're going to talk all about that. We're going to talk about a post CIG made today called Improving the Live Experience, which I actually didn't see until I was setting up for the show. So I haven't read it at all. So this will be totally new. We're going to talk very briefly about Siege of Orison. We're going to go through the roadmap roundup. A few interesting tidbits dropped in that. We're going to talk about the ship Showdown. And then at the very end, we might talk a little bit about gaming drama, both with CIG and Star Citizen, maybe a little bit with Grand Theft Auto and GTA 6, and a couple of other things that are really kind of just filling up my social feeds lately, and I thought it would be good to give my brief thought on a few of those things. So that being said, let's jump into our very first thing, the S65 Kruger Stingray. Right off the bat, and we are going to watch the Behind the Ships episode. It's about 6 minutes long. We are going to watch that. You know, I like to watch those on the stream. I actually have not seen this one. I saved it so I could just sort of do an initial impression. Shimpasta says, release the Kraken. Absolutely agree. Shimpasta, gold star. I will say that CIG, you see how I segued in that really smoothly? I will say CIG has been getting some criticism lately for various things. We know that is no mystery, but I think, and I've said this before, it's important to also call them out when they do something good, right? When they make a good decision. And I don't know how you feel, Art, but I really do think they made a good decision with the Stingray in terms of getting it available for anyone to test in the PTU last week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was really good.
Not locked off to anyone, just out there.
Right. It allowed us to kind of test it. It allowed us to look at it, kind of get a feel for it. It allowed content creators to kind of get an initial impression on it.
Yeah.
So it builds some hype. I mean, that's free marketing to a degree. You know, when you do that kind of stuff, and I really hope that they kind of continue that practice with maybe not every ship that comes out, because obviously for like IAE, you're looking at a whole bunch of ships, but these monthly ships that are dropping and maybe those bigger ticket kind of ships, the Galaxy, stuff like that, being able to PTU test it a little bit, get those people in the seats. That's not a developer, that's not an A closed system, that's not, in an updated from what we're currently experiencing kind of verse, to evaluate these ships and kind of go, oh, this isn't working right. So they still have time to do a quick patch, a quick fix, and get out a ship that's a better product than what we've recently seen.
Yeah. Agent Joe, thanks for the follow. Yeah, and look, there's plenty of argument to be. I think that was a great way of stating it. Art. I mean, there's plenty of argument to be made, because there's going to be those people that say, well, it really should have been available for testing 3 weeks ago or a month ago and stuff. I get it. The sooner these ships can come in for testing, the better. I will say, though, it was great that they got this one into testing at all. I think that needs to be the bare minimum, that they get it in a PTU cycle, a little bit beforehand. I will say that for ships like the Stingray that have not been pre-sold at concept, I like that they just give it to everyone to test as long as you're in the PTU. However, I will say on backlog concept ships where people have pre-bought, pledged for the concept, I do think they should get to test those for a period of time first, and then maybe they get opened up to more people. But actually, capital ships aside, because I know CIG can't overload the servers, but the backlog ships, I do still like that CIG tries to send that obviously to those owners to test specifically. That way it retains a little bit of that, like, hey, I have exclusive access to this ship, I pledged for it early sort of thing. So there's a lot of ways you could go about it, and I think hopefully this is a sign that CIG is going to try to let us test things, no matter how much they're trying to hold it back. Test it a little bit before it goes live. I do think that is the right decision. You lose a little bit of that new shiny toy thing, but at the same time, it garners you better goodwill. And we all have to remember, while we're really close to the project, there's still a lot of people that do not follow every leak and every PTU. They just play the game for when it comes out. And for those people, the new shininess is still there. So let's go through the S65 Stingray. Obviously, this is from Kruger. We talked a little bit about this on a previous show. We are going to watch the behind the scenes. I'm going to stop right here. We're going to watch the behind the scenes before we go too much further in this. But I did just want to say specifically about this. I think the design of this ship is really, really, really nice. Everyone I've talked to, whether it's VMXEO, Trispone, etc., has the same thoughts and feelings about this one. It's really, really great. It's at least a good sign for Kruger in general, for those that do like the Kruger brand, for future ships coming down the pipe. I'm sure a heavy fighter is being planned and possibly even more. But really, really nice shape language. You can tell CIG enjoyed the process of making this ship. And remember, it's a new ship. It's not a variant. And for that alone, people should be excited. Whether you like the ship, not every ship is for everybody, but be excited. It's a new ship. It's a new design language. It's something we haven't seen before. So let's watch the Behind the Ships episode. We got John Cruz staring at us, looking at us. He looks kind of angry here, but that's okay. We're going to go into the Behind the Ships episode. I may pause from time to time, or we just might watch it all the way through. Again, I have not seen this yet, so it'll be new to me as well. All right, here we go.
So last year, we reintroduced Kruger as a brand.
The Wolf and the Alpha
That's not
Wolf
what I meant to do.
were a really exciting couple of ships to work on.
Obviously, there was some debate about the fin, which sort of met with different viewpoints depending on your outlook.
Thanks for the follow, Agent.
Internally, we're very happy. I think they provided two very good options, both stylistically and gameplay-wise.
I think what's special about Kruger is how it's inspired from the vintage automotives and airplanes.
Kruger don't really settle for the normal. They want to push things, be that in its performance or its visuals.
So high-end, but a bit more traditional than other manufacturers we have. A little less modern and more focused on materials, on simpler shapes.
And they're expanding their lineup with a medium fighter called the Stingray.
There you go. Medium fighter.
The Stingray prioritizes handling and agility. It's a really unique silhouette. It looks super sleek, super futuristic. You can pretty quickly see where the name Stingray comes from. It has a very unique silhouette to the ship.
One thing that I love about the Stingray...
Pause it right there. I think, obviously, one of the things that has been a little bit controversial with this ship is some people saying that they don't like the tail. But I think it kind of goes back to this thing about, like, it's the design of it is obviously very on the nose. Like, it looks like a Stingray. And sort of like with the Tiburon, you know, you kind of start to go, well, did they come up with the name and then design a ship around the name? Or did they design the ship and just go, oh, it looks like a Stingray, let's call it the Stingray. Yeah, good, accidental. That's a good one. I guess I would hand this over to you, Art. Do you mind when CIG is kind of on the nose with the ship names and the design of the ships, or do you not mind so much?
It doesn't bother me at all, to be honest. It's not something that, you know, I've never looked at a ship from this game and go, well, I hate the name, so I hate the ship. Like, I fall in love with the ship. I can care less what the name is.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, if you go back through their concept artwork, a lot of the ships start really on the nose, like with their name. It's kind of weird. And then you see them sometimes evolve away from that. And then every now and then they'll do one where they just lean super hard to it. But I don't mind it as long as it's just an every now and then sort of thing. So as long as it's not like, as long as that hand is not overdone, I'm okay with it. But even if you go, I mean, I'm going to bring it up. We're going to always talk about this ship, you know it. But even if you go to the Kraken's early concept work, Paul Jones lists out that originally they were trying to do like 8 sort of things that stuck off of it to kind of go along with octopus / Krakens. And like they were trying to lean into it in a different way. Now it's like pulled away from that more and more. But it's, if you go back through, there's a lot of ships that originally start off in that concept phase, more on the nose to the naming, and any visual references to the name. This one, the Stingray, the Tiburon, being another one, they obviously lean really heavily into it. The Talon is another one that I think that does, but I do think CIG balances it in a nice way. So I don't think it's like really overdone or anything. So we'll keep going.
Is the balance between how it's inspired from the nature.
It's a sexy looking ship, I'll give it that.
At the same time, it is very much grounded in the real world industry standards.
Enthusiasts from World War II plane will recognize a prototype that never saw the sky. It was one of the main inspirations, and it mixes that aesthetic with the aesthetic of cars.
I consider that as a great achievement in design.
Multiple ships in Star Citizen have different states, either landed or flight state, but the Stingray is the first to implement 3 distinct states.
I think one of the first things you're going to notice is its very striking, dominant landed state.
I do like the landed
The
state.
wing bends up, and from the part of the wing, the landing gear will come out, landing exactly like a Spitfire.
Again, this is my own personal preference. I've found that a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I'm not a huge fan of the tiny wheels personally, but, it's fine. The Kraken doesn't have wheels, so I'm happy. It's all good. I'll leave it at that.
Kraken doesn't have wheels currently.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Because in flight state, you have 2 options: to keep it as it comes, incredibly nimble, sleek, with all the curves making one unique line.
With the retracted state, we wanted to kind of suck the wings in and deploy some more ailerons. This gives the idea of being a little bit more agile, a little bit faster maneuverability, and really it makes it feel a little bit more serious and like it's up for a fight.
Is the Eclipse going to get its flight mode?
At some point, yes. Gold standard.
Okay, let's pause there for a minute. 2 things. One, I actually love that the Stingray's wings pull in and it gets the little down fin and all that stuff. I still wish that the little winglets didn't pop up. I would have just taken the wings coming in. I think that is kind of cool. However, they bring up this third landing, or this third ship state in relation to the Eclipse. What's the Eclipse other state? I didn't know it had a third state. Did you know? Chat, chime in. What is the Eclipse's third flight state? Is it sort of like this one where it can just transform for better in atmosphere flight or better in space flight? I'm curious. Chat will let us know, I'm sure. But I didn't know the Eclipse had one. But I will say this. CIG does not typically like offhandedly mention something like another ship in one of these videos unless it is going to be a focus pretty soon. So the simple fact that they even mention the Eclipse, I actually think there will be an Eclipse Gold Standard sooner rather than later. So that's kind of interesting that they said that. Doesn't always mean that, but I've sort of followed that pattern before, and I feel like a lot of times when John Crew goes through the trouble of actually mentioning something like that or even commenting on it, that means they are thinking about it. It's probably in the pipeline. Not a guarantee, but yeah. Let's keep going.
By default, the Stingray comes with 2 size 4 laser repeaters. These are the same weapons that are found on the Wolf. So if you own those size 4 weapons from the Wolf and the Alpha Wolf, that means you can equip your Stingray with these. You can do it in any combination you wish. And then integrated into each wing, there are 2 additional size 2 laser repeaters. These are new, but they are also interchangeable with other size 2 Kruger ship weapons.
Which we figured.
So Kruger, they're happy for you to kind of have some options as long as it is Kruger. So that is why the size 2 weapons are shipped.
Which I don't know what you think about this. I actually am fine with that. I don't mind. I know there's some people, and I think like Execute is one of these people that do want all the weapons across the same size group to be interchangeable no matter the ship. And I do get the logic. I actually do understand the argument. It does give you more flexibility in terms of getting your ship how you want it. I will kind of counter and go the other way a little bit with it, though, is that I do like the kind of the fantasy of a manufacturer saying, okay, no, we're going to give you some weapon kits, but they're still pretty specific to our platforms. And ultimately, I think that's going to lead to 2 things. And I think we're going to see this on more ships. Danger Robo says anti-consumer. I do think we're going to see this in more ships. And I think it does 2 things. One, it strengthens. Well, first off, it makes the game easier to balance because now certain ships will be able to use certain weapons. And ultimately, so I do think there's a balance component there that's going to be a lot easier for CIG to deal with. And then the other thing is I think it allows them to design weapons around specific ships, which may not have much of a purpose now because we sort of really only have a few weapon types. But in the future, when there's a lot more different ammo types, a lot more different weapon types, we could see some interesting things happen there. And I'll give you an example. You know, if you take a ship like, let's take a ship we've seen a unique bespoke weapon for recently when they showed us the what's probably the size 9 main turret on the Kraken. It would make sense that they do a weapon kit around that's still a bespoke weapon, but designed around the Kraken that you can switch out. As a matter of fact, I think they're going to do that. So that it gives you some flexibility. They're still bespoke, so they can be balanced. Because I honestly don't think if you're not rocking bespoke weapons to some degree on some of these ships, I think it's going to be impossible to get anywhere close to even like what we would call a sense of balance. First off, I think balance is going to be impossible in this game. So don't get me wrong. I don't think that's even remotely possible in this game. But I think with the weapon sizes CIG has, the fact that there's an inconsistent application of weapon sizes to different sizes of ships, you know what I mean? Like some ships you will get like a size 5 and you're like, wait a minute, why is it getting size 5 when it's sister ship? It's created a absolute mess for CIG to attempt to balance. So I think the only real solution moving forward is to go into more of a bespoke sort of direction. It would not shock me if one day before 1.0, CIG drops some bad news where they're going to do a pass on weapons again, where ships are limited to their weapon sizes they can have, but also to specific types of weapons or brands of weapons. I actually think it's going to get a little bit more limited than what we're used to now. I'm speculating wildly there, but I just based off some stuff I've seen behind the scenes, it wouldn't shock me if they go that direction. And I know everyone will hate it, but anyway.
Well, so I mean, here's my thoughts on it. Is again going with what you said about balancing, it's very easy to balance bespoke weapons because they're only going to be on a certain number of ships. You can dictate which weapons are going to be on. I think having common weapons or having the availability of common weapons is not a major issue on some ships. I would say not all. But having that availability, so you have a little bit of choice, but also having manufacturer weapons that, if RSI comes out with certain weapons that are specific to RSI ships because of RSI components and all this other stuff, like those are supposed to be blended well together and work well. When you start getting these other kits from other manufacturers, I mean, look, when you build weapons nowadays in real life, if you put different weapon kits together, you may not get something that is as well as if you just got a solid kit from one manufacturer. So, I could see that being kind of to your point, a lean-to where they're going to kind of go more bespoke because it is easier to balance. I do like that they have interchangeability, and I love that they went back to, the size 2s and are using those even to be interchangeable on there. It's one of those things like it makes it easier than trying to balance 15 different size 5 weapons, whether they're ballistic, whether they're laser, whether they're whether they're repeaters versus gatlings versus cannons versus let some of those still be out there. I think there are ships that should still be in that common area that can get those things, but also there needs to be some exclusivity, and we have that a little bit when you look at the Idris kits. That kit changes that front turret. You have the option to change those kits. Those are bespoke kits. I mean, you can flip them around and put an Idris railgun in with the the T kits turret, which is a fan favorite. You can do stuff like that, and I think you should be able to do stuff like that and mix those kits together and have a mix of them, not just one or the other.
Right.
So that you get still a little bit of customization in there.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. And Rabbit on Twitch says it perfectly here because I think that's the better way of saying it. I think I was saying it the wrong way. Rabbit says the ships need a weapon size squish. And any of you that have played MMOs in the past, you will know that sometimes MMOs, especially MMOs that have been out for a long time, they'll sometimes do a stat squish where they sort of squish all the stats down and get them into a normalized place. I could see that happening with weapons. And while the cat is somewhat out of the bag with weapon sizes, you got to remember that the weapon size itself is not the only knob and switch that CIG can change, because changing that particular knob, like saying, oh, this weapon's no longer size 5, we're making it size 4, that can sometimes garner ill will in the community. But there's other things CIG can do. They can change capacitors for energy weapons. They can change ammo counts for ballistic weapons. There's a lot of ways they could shift that stuff the closer they get to 1.0. You know what I mean? There's lots of knobs and switches and stuff they have to sort of rebalance the weapons outside of just this S number in front of them. So just something, that's been on my mind with the weapon size stuff. I get a lot of people ask me, they'll send me a DM and say, Brian, did you see this shipping? What do you think of this weapon size? And I'll be like, I don't know. I don't even care about the weapon sizes right now. I hate to say it, like I do care, but not as much as I care about many other aspects of the ship yet, because it just seems so like the weapon size stuff seems so wild west to me still. But let's keep going. About halfway through.
With the Merlin. So if you prefer more ballistic loadout, you're able to take the size 2s off the Merlins and use them on your Stingray. Whereas if you prefer the more energy based, you can take the weapons off your Stingray and then retrofit them back to your Merlin.
It's a pretty ship.
So the Stingray is actually quite a large ship in terms of just the sheer size of it. So the mocap team had fun implementing a custom inter-exit animation for this ship. We had to create a all-new ladder that was quite long and then had to tuck away somewhere, and then the traversal across the top face of the ship into the cockpit was a challenge as well. But I think the end result is pretty impressive.
The cockpit keeps a lot of the kind of typical Kruger DNA. It shares a lot of assets with the Wolf.
The main difference is that instead of being concentrated in the center, most of the controls are concentrated on the side, leaving the center empty for a complete visibility, since the bottom part of the canopy is glass.
Now, Execute thinks that bit of glass that goes through the center and kind of goes down, he sort of thinks that means we could get maybe a bomber variant of this ship. I would be all for that. I think that'd be really, really cool. So here's hoping.
Well,
my favorite part in Stingray is its component bay. It's pretty unique and is accessible by opening the clamshell door at the back of the ship.
That is a really cool
Two
feature.
turbines create a strong balance. And the rear
Ooh, Socially Confused says that component hatch should be glass. I'll tell you what, had the concierge livery for this, had a glass canopy for that section, that would have been pretty hot. Let's say socially confused. That's a great idea for CIG. CIG, if there's any of you listening or watching after the fact, that's something that should be considered. That'd be pretty sweet.
There acts as a focal point and bring some order into the design while we have access to all the components in the middle of the component bay.
So on launch we have 4 paints. By default it comes in a bright red, but I appreciate that might not be for everyone. So we've got the classic paint options of a white, light grey, and then a darker black. And then we've got a camo paint, because I think as a combat vehicle, I think it's always nice to lean into a bit of camouflage. And finally, we've got something that's a little bit more striking, and really just crew having a bit of fun with the kind of shapes and the lines of the Stingray.
Arthur Forge, thank you for subscribing on YouTube. Do appreciate that. Here's what I want to say in response to what Ben just said about a striking paint for the concierge. CIG, do more striking paints. When you do the more striking liveries, you actually do a really fantastic job. I actually think you're better at those risk-taking liveries than you are at just the standard paint job combination sometimes. So do more of that. Do more of that. I promise you, you will make a ton of money. Be wild with some of these paint jobs. Because again, when you do that, I think it's pretty successful.
I'm very happy with the Stingray. I think it looks great. I think it's a very striking vehicle.
We have the different flight modes, so you can really maximize the way that you want to approach combat. The ship is for players who like to do things a bit differently and like to look good while they're doing it.
There you go.
So if you prioritize performance in terms of flight over pure DPS, then this is the ship for you.
I'm very happy how it turned out.
He's very happy.
I
everyone.
hope they will feel at home with this one, and the pleasure in rediscovering these 60s, 80s vehicles that still have a soul in modern days.
Oh boy, there's our space whale.
That was
yeah.
great. That was a great nation of a space whale.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's a Stingray. I mean, it's a super cool ship. I did pick one up. I'm going to not lie about it. It is 20 meters long in landed mode, 22 meters in combat mode. The tail does extend a bit. Single crew, obviously. And you can see additional stats here. Really cool paint jobs. This is one of those ships that I think CIG, every single paint job on it looks pretty slick. Sometimes it's like half of them that I like, or maybe one that I like. I think this is one of those where they knocked it out of the park. The factory standard's really cool. The Manta's really slick. I like that one a lot. Protocol's nice. Actually, I think Protocol's one of the better ones. The Domain camo, I don't usually like the camo paint jobs, but I really like this one. I'd love that on the Perseus, actually. Really, really slick. And then Marina, which is the concierge, again, super cool. I love that they take risks like that sometimes with some of these paints. I sometimes feel like they're a little bit hesitant on those because they worry that they're maybe a little too wild for like the general gaming, the general ship crowd. But I think people really dig these. I think they should do them more. Obviously, there are a number of different offerings. There is a Chairman's Club that comes with a Kruger flight suit and the unique, I think it's the Marina paint. And then there is a concierge Warbond pack that comes with the Stingray, the Wolf, and the Alpha Wolf for $330. And then the single one here is $160. Again, those are Warbond, concierge. The ship itself, if you get it Warbond for $160, you will get the Kruger flight suit with it, which is kind of nice. You can also get the Stingray just as standalone at $175. They're also selling the pack to non-concierge, of course. Then there's the weapon kits. We have the size 2 interchangeable weapon kits. And I do like that CIG labeled it out here that this one fits the Merlin, which insinuates that it comes stock on the Stingray. And then this one here says fits Stingray because it's the Merlin weapon. So essentially they modularized, I can't talk, that weapon. So I like that they made that pretty clear. So now you have 2 weapon kits you can switch interchangeably between the different Kruger ships. That's really nice. Those are $8, $4, and $12.50 respectively. And then, of course, you can buy any and everything in individual packs, including the paints. So I guess I would, and there's obviously a Warbond CCU upgrade for the Stingray. So I guess I hand it over to you, Art. What do you think? How do you think the price of 175 standalone for this medium fighter? How do you feel about that?
I think it's manageable. I think it's it's not overly aggressive. It obviously could have went for a little bit more, I think, and people would have still picked it up.
Yeah.
It's a medium fighter. There's not really a lot in that medium fighter kind of space anyways, so it gives a little bit of variety. Not bad.
Yeah, I didn't think it was too bad either. I mean, I think you're getting some interesting flexibility with this ship, again, with the interchangeable weapons. It's using the Kruger design language, which I do think is a step above a lot of the other manufacturer design languages, especially for fighters. As I've said, I'm a big fan of the Alpha Wolf. That is a ship that will probably stay in my hangar for as long as I play the game. I just really, really dig it. So overall, I think everything came in about where I thought. I don't know what to say about the ship in terms of its performance in game. As you all know, with VMXCO the other day, we went and did a bounty with the Stingray. It went well, even though I hadn't done combat in a long time. So it took me forever to kill the bad guy, but I killed him. The ship felt a bit... The ship felt a little bit hard to get on target, but that was also, if you all watched that stream, I had a bunch of stuff up on my mouse area, so I didn't have a good setup for dogfighting, and I think that was probably the main culprit. Even with that little bit of self-imposed handicap, I had a lot of fun flying the ship and engaging the targets. So I do want to run the ship through its paces, just doing some bounties, set up for that, dual sticks going, all that kind of stuff. I think in that sort of situation, I think it's going to be really, really effective. Again, I need to run it through its paces. But as I always say with these ships, buy it for the role, not for where it's currently at in terms of its stats, its metrics, its performance, metrics and all that stuff. Those are going to change many times between now and 1.0. Buy the ship for its role. So its role is that of a medium fighter, a medium single seat fighter with some bespoke weapon flexibility through kits. That's kind of why you're buying it, and its aesthetics. Again, those specific numbers I think are not worth sort of tracking too hard right now. So again, yeah, go ahead.
On an important note, Rabbit missed your space whale impersonation. So could you
sure
can you do that one more time?
Absolutely. There we go. It's kind of like a
Rabbit.
It's kind of like a drunken Chewbacca, but also slightly lazy. It's like, it's like you don't want to give it too much.
No. Keep it real, Yeah. Keep it realistic.
The Great War Mage says bespoke being a positive. Well, actually, let me talk on that for a minute. I don't mean it as a positive or a negative necessarily. I think it ultimately will be a positive in the long run. Okay. And the reason I think that, and I understand War Mage, why you may look at it as a negative. I think there are some negative aspects to bespoke weapons. Ultimately, though, I think in the future, I think those weapons are going to be easier for CIG to tune in the 1.0 game environment versus the just the standard generic weapons that are across all the weapon sizes. And because of that, I think the bespoke weapons are probably going to be, and I'm talking in the 1.0 world, not in the world we're at now, we're alpha. We're going to talk a little bit about this later. But in the 1.0 environment, I actually think bespoke weapons are going to be slightly overtuned past the generic weapons. That's the reason I think that is related to some stuff I have kind of heard in the background I'm not saying that's like coming from like CIG told me that or anything. Just some stuff I've heard in the background from different people, some stuff I've seen in some of the files. I think the trajectory long term for bespoke weapons is in that those weapons will have a slight overtune because of the fact that CIG can fiddle with those knobs and switches related to that weapon and not upset the overall balance of the game across all the weapon, all the weapons that are out there. It allows them to give that weapon a little bit more attention. Again, I could be speculating wildly. I could be totally wrong on this shit, but just based off some stuff I see, that's my thinking with bespoke weapons in the 1.0 environment. Okay, but that's a good point that you bring up. It could be. Could end up being a negative at one day. I don't know, but
Well, I mean, what if we had them so that maybe there was if you wanted to use a weapon set that was outside bespoke, you would have to purchase a conversion kit for it, and the weapons performed slightly under, not even like a huge percentage, but a slightly under percentage, so you could still carry what you wanted to carry.
Yeah,
and it would just underperform slightly because of the conversion or because of components or whatever you want to argue.
Yeah.
Because we haven't really seen yet with crafted ship weapons, we haven't seen how all that process is going to progress. There may be, bespoke weapon blueprints that we're going to get that's going to make this ship amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So, we still don't know what the crafted side. We're looking at base stats, base gun size.
And there's also, I have a feeling, this is speculation, I have a feeling though, one of the things CIG is going to do is they're going to allow weapons to be, and just components, weapons, anything. I think and there's going to be a time where we're going to be able to tune those. So we're sort of going to be able to almost like overclock them and tune them. I do think that's something that is coming. CIG has spoken about this in different ways in the past, and in some of their game design brief articles, and overclocking returns. And it's possible. I could see a future where the bespoke weapons actually can be overtuned or overclocked a little bit more. And again, we don't totally know if that's how it's going to take shape, but we've seen, if you go back and read some of the stuff on like science and research and stuff like that related back to the Endeavor and other things, they sort of hint to some of that. Again, some of that information's super old, and that may not be what ends up happening, but that's where my hope is. Ultimately, to make all this short, I hope the bespoke weaponry is a net positive in the 1.0 environment over a generic size 4 weapon, say. You know what I mean? I do think if CIG was like, if they started over with development tomorrow, I actually do think they would go with predominantly bespoke weapons. And I think they would do that specifically for tuning and balance. But, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But, War Mage brings up a great point. It's the bespoke weapon thing, I still think is kind of a weird question mark for people. I think there's a lot of people that think of it as a negative, some people that think of it as a positive, and it sort of sits in that weird area. But anyways, S65 Stingray, new ships. Nice to see a new ship come out. We kind of knew the Stingray was coming. Now we're back in that world where, okay, we don't know what's next coming up down the pipe. We saw that leaked ship list. Could it be the Auxilla? Could it be the MFC? Could it be the RSI Skylark? Could it be the Drake Marauder? Who knows what next month's ship's going to be or next patch ship's going to be? I think we're at that place now where, we got a little bit of the unknown in front of us, which is always kind of nice and fun. So Baba Boot says hydrate. Thank you, Baba. Appreciate that. I'll hydrate now. All right, here we go. Next topic. Improving the live experience. Let's blow this one up here a minute. I had not read this. Art, did you go through this at all?
I briefly went through it while I was doing other things. So paying attention. I mean, I caught the gist, but not all of it.
It obviously it's a article that was posted, and I think it was good that CIG posted it. And it was specifically in relation, I think, to obviously some of the negative press that the game has gotten recently. I think that goes without saying, from the SCL, which I've been pretty open on my thoughts about that SCL. I think it was blown way out of proportion, like way out of proportion. It actually is a little bit shocking to me that it's so blown out of proportion. Why do I think it was blown out of proportion? Well, I can tell you very clearly, because the situation post SCL was the same situation pre SCL. Nothing had really changed. And people being concerned that it was the game code and not the servers that had been causing us issues. No shit. That's all I got to say. Whoever thought it was the servers holding the game back? Of course it's been the game code. That has not been a secret either. Why did people think it was the servers? I don't understand that. It's been the game code for sure. CIG hasn't been secretive about it being the game code. How many times over the past 16 months or 24 months has Benoit told us that major systems have to be rewritten? ATC, the transit system, all these systems being rewritten. They weren't rewritten because the AWS servers weren't performant. They're rewritten because the code wasn't up to snuff. So it was a little surprising to me. Again, I'm not playing, White Knight for CIG. It was just a little bit like, I don't play the alpha right now thinking, man, if just these servers were better, this game would be like playing War Dogs over here. It's like, no, it's the game code. Okay, so I just thought that was abundantly clear. So for me, when it was being played on the private server, of course it was going to be the same sort of problems we encounter. As a matter of fact, had it not been, I would have been extra mad because I'd have been like, okay, so you're using special developer code too, and we're getting some garbage code. You know what I mean? So again, a little bit of a weird thing there, but obviously every big streamer who hooks on to whatever the controversy of the day is, Moist Biscuits, or I forget his name. What's his name? Moist Criticals, whatever his name is. I don't know all the streamers, by the way, everyone. I don't watch YouTube. But all those people that jump on these things, they're going to look at it and it's going to pick up steam. So obviously CIG is going to have to respond to that. I think this is what this response is. But obviously they're covering things here such as AI, docking and refueling, freight elevators, hangars and ASOP, inventory, login connections, ship loss, all the usual stars here. No big surprises. And it goes on and through that here. They start getting pretty detailed here on some of this stuff, specific issues here, what they're going to be fixing on it. So it is a pretty large article. So I do encourage everyone to dissect it. I plan on doing that. Without breaking all of it down here on the show, line by line, I think I will say that it's good that they addressed it. I think they needed to. I would point to Grolo's channel on YouTube. Some of you know him. I've also watched a couple of other people and talked to a couple of other people in game development, and they all say the same thing as Grolo, which is it's alpha, and technically Star Citizen's version of alpha is much more advanced than almost any other game studio's content and alpha stage. It's supposed to be broken. It's going to be plenty broken. Now, the argument again can be made that CIG's been in alpha for too long. That is a valid argument. Absolutely. Argue that all you want. I actually agree with that. But it is still alpha. And no game in alpha is perfect and runs great. I think what we all need to do is hope that CIG gets to beta sooner rather than later. But we'll have to see. Is it Moist Moist Critical. Okay, yeah, I think Critical. And then Citizen Wake says Philip DeFranco covered it. Yeah, okay. So here's another thing really quick. Am I the only person in existence who didn't know who Philip DeFranco was? I know I watch like gaming stuff all the time. I'd never heard of Philip DeFranco. Am I supposed to know who this is? And he's huge. He's millions and millions and millions of. I didn't know he was. Someone literally said, "You don't know who that is, Grim?" I was like, "No, I don't." I must be living under a rock. I don't know who it was. I know Annie DeFranco. She's a singer-songwriter, but I didn't know Philip DeFranco. Sorry. Moist, what is his name? Moist Biscuit? Critical Biscuit? I can't get these names. Critically Moist Biscuit, okay? He's probably got an awesome show. I don't know him. I haven't watched his show. Maybe I should. Maybe his content's awesome. I'm not judging him. He could be a cool dude. I know he covered it because there was some people covering it. It's always actually sometimes good when those people pick up on Star Citizen, and also can be bad. But here's what I will say. As bad as some of the coverage was, right? As bad as some of the coverage was, I actually don't think in the long run it did anything. Because shortly after that, the GTA 6 leak happened and all hell broke loose in the gaming world. And suddenly 99.3% of gamers didn't give a rat's ass about the Star Citizen news anymore. It was all GTA 6 and all the time. So in some ways, the GTA 6 is like the biggest blessing for CIG because it totally shifted focus of the conversation away from that. Now anything anyone's caring about is the cyber leak stuff with GTA 6. Griffin Gaming RPG in chat. Griffin, hope you're doing well, buddy. But yeah, Rabbit says the GTA 6 leak time. He was very fortunate. Yeah, it was. And ultimately, I think it's great CIG address this. I want to see changes come. But it takes us back to that old argument, discussion we've had on this show time and time again, which is, are you playing the game for now? Or are you playing the game for 1.0? And the funny thing is I've gone back, I was watching some of Grolo's content. I've watched some other content creators' content recently. I think it was Space Tomato had on a game developer who did a lot of work with the Crytek engine, worked on a New World and another game. I'm sorry. It was a great show. You should go watch it. Shout out Space. He just had a baby, so congratulations to him. But he had a great interview with this guy, and this guy talked a lot about the alpha state of game, the Crytek, the Cry engine, and all this kind of stuff. And I will say, I'll say this. The game, whether we like it or not, and whether the timeline is what we want it to be or not, it is still very much an alpha project. Okay, I don't think any of us can argue with that. Should it still be an alpha? No, but it is an alpha project. We need to set our expectations accordingly. The goal is hopefully when Squadron gets out, the attention can be turned to the project, to the Star Citizen project, and it gets across the finish line. But that being said, there's a long way to go. And as I've said many, many times, and this is not a dump on CIG or Star Citizen. It's just how I've looked at the project from day one of me pledging for it. And I still feel exactly the same way today. I give it a 50-50 chance of being successful. That's the odds I give Star Citizen, 50-50. And some of you might go, oh, wow, really? That's not that great considering you make a Star Citizen tool. Shout out to Starlet and VMXEO, by the way. My fellow star jumpers that build the tool. The smart ones. I'm the dumb one. But yeah, I still feel the same way as I did from day one. I give it a 50-50 chance. I want it to be successful. I love the game. There's days I hate the game. but I give it 50-50 chance. I don't know. It's a gamble. I don't know what to tell you. It is a gamble. But I don't know if it's just me or if you feel this way too, but I feel like a lot of things in life are 50-50 gamble. If I buy a new monitor for my computer, it's like, how it's a 50-50 chance this damn thing's going to last me a year. You know, I don't know. No, I mean, it's everything you do in life is a little bit of a risk. You know, my truck, I just paid it off. Well, I just got hit with another $1,500 bill today because of a problem with the differential. You know, I mean, everything's a gamble. I just paid it off. I was excited. The truck's probably going to fall apart now. And what I'm going to say is nothing is a guarantee. Star Citizen was always a gamble. It's a project that's never been done before. There's a reason it's never been done before. It may fail, burn, go down in flames. It may. It also may be insanely successful and accomplish all its goal. It might fall somewhere in the middle, you know, and end up just being a pretty good game and not hit all of its goals. I don't know. It's going to land somewhere. All we can do as a community is do what I've always said, okay? And I'm sorry to go on this rant for a minute, but I think this is important. Because I've seen so many posts out there post SCL about trash and CIG. Don't give your money. People trying to convince others to give your money. You're all grown-ass adults. You know when to give your own money and not to give your money. Bottom line is, set your own milestones for Star Citizen and Cloud Imperium games. When they hit those milestones and you feel like you, not anyone else, you feel like they've accomplished something, invest more if you wish. If they don't hit those milestones that you've set, that you've personally set for them, then don't. Absolutely don't. Well, it's really, I mean, that's how you have to approach it.
Well, I mean, look to everything in this game, you know, to your point, to get in and experience this game, just to get in the door is what, $45?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's as much as you have to invest.
Yep.
You can invest as more or as less as you want. I mean, they have giveaways. You could go around and try to pick up one for free or pick up one through raffles, or, you know, there's plenty of opportunity, but yeah, I mean, you're going to $45.
Yeah.
I spent more on Battlefield, and I don't play Battlefield much.
Sure. There's games I've barely ever played. Like, I played them one time and I was like, nope, and didn't bother returning them, and I spent the money. Look, ultimately, when I say set those your own things, I look at it like this. So for me, I had paused putting money into the game, but I had set a personal thing that I wanted, which was actually, no, go all the way back to when I had been following the game since 2012, but I hadn't really started like really pledging for the game yet. But my milestone I set for CIG before I would start pledging was I wanted base level persistence in the game. Okay. The first version of persistence came in with Alpha 3.8. Okay. Alpha 3.8 was the first time I pledged for a ship. Okay. Because that little piece of tech came in. Okay. Then I set another milestone. Sometimes those milestones are core tech, which are probably shared amongst a lot of people. Sometimes there's weird milestones like, okay, when they finally put in the MISC expanse, I'll put in more money. Or if they put in this piece of hangar flare that I got in the Kickstarter, when that finally gets in game, I'll put in more money. That's fine. Set your own milestones. By the way, I saw in chat someone say they wish my family, I hope my family was doing well. They are. Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate that. I'm going to get to some of that. But again, you set your own milestones. That's all you can really do. You know what I mean? That's all you can really do. Some people, I think, I've been called everything from a CIG shill to a white knight. And the funny thing is,
you said that you weren't going to tell people about our conversation.
I know. I'll say this. It's not that I'm either one of those things. It's that it's just that I think, and there's others like me, I've put the game in a very specific box in my brain. And that box is, this is a gamble. It's 50-50 if it will be successful. I don't know which it will be. CIG makes some good decisions and they make some bad decisions, and that's where it sits. So for me, because I always keep it in that box, I feel like I can kind of ride it. I can ride the good times and I can ride the bad times, and I don't get too upset. I don't get too emotional. I don't get too like wrapped up in the negativity, because I've got the game compartmentalized in a good place for me. Okay. And it's going to be different for everybody. You know what I mean? And I'll say this, I don't talk about this much because it's really no one's business, but I put a lot of money into this game. I'll go ahead and tell you now, I put too much money into this game. Okay. I'm concierge quite a bit over at this point. Okay. You've all seen my fleet. There's a Javelin in there. There's a Kraken in there. There's a Pioneer in there. Okay. I'm invested. If the game tomorrow, if they announced it's over, we're going under, would I be upset? Yeah, I'd be sad. I'd be sad because I'm hoping for that star system future, but I wouldn't be angry. I wouldn't like punch holes in wall and go on a big 2-hour rant fest online. Only because I know it's a risk. I just do. And once I compartmentalized it like that, it made it a much better experience for me. And it's not easy to get into that place. So hopefully for those of you that are sweating it a bit, you feel like maybe the game and the project is in sort of a low energy, sort of a negative state right now, which I will fully agree with you. It does sort of feel like that. There's just a little bit of a cloud hanging over all of us. Read this post. Okay. Read this post, but don't just take it at its word, because it's easy for CIG to post something like this. Read through it. Set some goals for yourself for CIG that are unique to you. Pick a couple things off of here and say, I want to see these 3 things fixed, and stick to it. Vote with your wallet. And that's the best way to do it.
Do you saw about the you want to touch on the Xylo video comment of the new series they're going to try?
No, what is that? I didn't even see it.
See that?
No, I didn't see it.
Scroll down a little bit.
Oh, scroll down a little bit. Okay, scrolling down. Is that at the bottom?
Behind this, I think it's behind the scenes.
Okay. Let's see. Later today, we'll publish a pilot for a potential series we're calling Inside CIG, taking you behind the scenes of Alpha 4.1.0, or sorry, 4.10. I don't know why I read it like that. To show you what this process actually looks like, you'll sit in on our meetings, spend time with developers at their desk as they work through issues and content you're testing in the PTU, and see how testing, telemetry, and feedback come together as we work towards a live release. What's my thoughts on that one? Well, let me start with you, R. What's your thoughts on that?
Honestly, a little too late.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have seen this right after the bad stream. That would have said, hey, we understand you guys are feeling a certain way. It's also interesting that it came from Xylo versus, I would have maybe have liked to have seen this come from, I know Jared's out, but we've got a new community guy. Like, he could have pushed this a little bit.
Right.
Excuse me. So it's interesting.
Was this written by Xylo? Well. Where does this say it was written by Xylo?
I think it was posted somewhere.
Okay.
It was by Xylo.
Okay.
I'll have to look back into it.
And yeah, and I can confirm, as Wolf Blitzer said, Jared is still on vacation for 2 more weeks. Actually, he's still out for 2 more weeks, as of today.
Yeah, so even if it's not, but we still got Ollie there.
That's true. Yeah.
Let the guy work.
Yeah.
I think it's a little late. I would have liked to have seen something. We've had this huge dry spell of information coming from CIG in general. This would have been a wonderful thing to do. I understand that because of, I think this is in direct correlation to the fact of how bad the live stream was.
Mm-hmm.
And the the bad press that they've gotten. I've seen things for people who's not really covered CIG's stuff really at all. Even they were bringing it up.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to kind of see how they're doing things in the background. I think it's a way to put. We see CIG as this company that's just making money off of what we give them. We give them money, they give us ships. This process repeats, and bugs still happen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think this is trying to put a human element into it to realize, like, hey, we're people. We're it's a process. This isn't as cut and dry as what some people think, and that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think. Look, I think. Well, there's a lot to respond to there. I think that if this is direct from Xylo, I actually, based off what I know about the community team, my interactions with them, which I interact with the community team at CIG quite a bit, just in relation to CIG giveaways and things like, giveaways for the STARJUMP Summit and support in that way, support with STARJUMP Fleet Viewer, etc. I actually would say if this came from Xylo, that actually shows its importance level, because Xylo is the funny thing with him is you really don't see him much anymore because he's dealing with some sort of higher level stuff now. So I think if this is from him, I think that actually shows that CIG's kind of putting the big guns on it. Xylo is definitely got a big footprint at CIG, and so I would look at that as a positive. In terms of the video content itself, I think it could be good to humanize not only the development team, but reopen the doors of CIG a little bit. As we all know, as that they've grown in size, they've sort of closed out this sort of open development sort of mantra they were living by. It's gotten more and more like closed development. So I think that a show like this could sort of harken back to how CIG used to be with their content. Think about those sprint reports and around the verse and stuff like that. My only caution, though, is that we've seen content pop up before that was supposed to be a new series only for it to not happen or never continue. If some of you will remember that Squadron 42 video series that we were supposed to get, we only ended up getting one of them. One thing I think that they do say here is probably a good idea is they say we'll publish a pilot for a potential series. I think that is a very critical line that CIG threw in there, and it's good that they did, just in case they don't keep to that. In thinking about CIG criticisms, I'll say right away, I've been very, very disappointed in the amount of content this year, video content especially. However, I do think there's reasons for the video content drought, and we'll see if that gets improved. Ultimately, though, going back to that argument of, are you playing for now or playing for later? We're just faced with that question. And this is what a lot of the game developers I've seen interviewed about the SCL recently have reiterated, which is, if we want the game to get done at some point within human history, Art's talking to someone more important than us. If we do want it to get done sometime this century, CIG is going to have to get back to putting in major features, major core tech, which they're doing, but they need to start hitting that hard. And I do think that's going to make for an unplayable alpha or an extremely rough alpha. I think part of, again, that problem is that CIG props this alpha up as a sort of a live game experience, and it's not. It's not a game. It's a alpha project that still has a long way to go before I will call it a game.
Tech preview.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit CIG's fault. It's a little bit the gamer's expectations fault. It's a little bit of not understanding game development. So hopefully a new video series like that will help things. We'll have to see. moving on, I want to talk a little bit about Siege of Orson, just out with Alpha 4.10. Make sure you check that out.
When are we going to run this? I think it should
know.
be you, me, VMXEO. We need a fourth. So we need to reach out to somebody and get a fourth.
Yeah, we'll find a fourth.
I think we should stream it.
We should. That'd be fun. It'd be fun. Yeah, it looks fun. I watched a bunch of videos on it. It looks pretty cool. I'm excited to try it out.
Ooh, Starlet.
Starlet. Yeah. Get a chance to try out the new armor. That'd be cool. But yes, Alpha 4.10 out. We got some space whales. We got the patch notes are here. I heard it was a pretty extensive patch notes list. So make sure you go through that. Tons of stuff. Lots of bugs fixes, the Battaglia missions, all that kind of good stuff. Stingray coming in, additional quantum fuel changes and stuff. Again, just an absolute ton of stuff. I was sort of briefly going over the patch notes today, and I think someone said this on Spectrum, and Niku responded to it. But essentially, it's an absolutely massive list of stuff. So go through it. A lot of patch notes, a lot of stuff related to specific ships here as well. So go look through that. Obviously the instancing tech is in with Siege of Orson, so make sure you check that out as well. Run it through its paces, give constructive feedback, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, maybe we'll stream a version of Siege of Orson soon. Be cool. Next, let's go to Roadmap Roundup. We'll talk more about Siege of Orson when we actually do it. Again, I don't have much to say about it other than it's a patch day. Enjoy it, everyone. Hopefully, it's a good experience for everyone. Roadmap Roundup is out, though. Some interesting stuff here I think we need to go over. They go over the release view with Alpha 4.10, including things like new mission giver Recco Battaglia, the super heavy combat armor, instancing Siege of Orson, fuel tank and consumption rebalance, new Wicklow ship offerings, and the Drake Clipper. I thought that one was already in, but I guess it's in. Apocalypse Arms, Vendetta HMG, the Hebde Gunworks, Arlington Lever Action Rifle. Haven't tried that one yet. I really want to try it. The Hebde Gunworks Size 2 Optic, the Kruger Stingray, of course, and an item recovery ship loadout improvements has been moved to Alpha 4.11 as they need more time to test it, which is fine. Let's talk about Alpha 4.11 because I think this is where things start to get a little spicy. Tiho and Stiggles, thank you for the follows. Do appreciate that. Nix 1 was talked about in Alpha 4.11 last time as being prepped for that particular patch. Now we're showing Nix 2 and Nix 3. That is very exciting to see. That means they are looking to aggressively build out Nix within or for Alpha 4.11, which is absolutely huge. That means that, by the end of this year, we're going to be looking at a third system fully represented in game, because yes, we have Nix now, but it's not really Nix. It's more of just a landing zone. So again, Alpha 4.11 really now kind of being like last year's 4.0, where it's like the patch that brings in a new system proper. So very excited to see that. Again, these being Genesis planets. Nix 2, with high temperatures and high pressure atmosphere, dense with thick clouds. Nix 2 is an inhospitable planet where protective gear is recommended. While some resources dot the surface, the risk involved in harvesting them has left the planet almost void of commercial development. Be interesting to see how Starkitect plays with that one. Nix 3 is an ice giant that lacks a breathable atmosphere and is considered a difficult candidate for expansive commercial resource extraction. I'm kind of excited to see how CIG approaches an ice giant. Looking forward to that one as well. And again, how Starkitect will play with it. Additionally, those item recovery improvements. They also have an ASD Model K2 DMR. There's some cool imagery with that. I'll bring that up here in the roadmap roundup. Actually, why does this one not have I'll have to find a standby. And then the Lightning Bolt Company Skarnov Assault Rifle. I can bring up some of that imagery. Why is the imagery not here? Stand by, everyone.
Magic.
Stand by, everybody. They had some Genesis planet images. That one looks incredible. Absolutely incredible. I can't wait to check these out. A lot is riding on the Genesis Planet tech. I hope we get more extreme Genesis weather, if not at launch with the Genesis planets, then soon after. That is a thing I'm really excited about with the Genesis planets, is the weather. We got this image here, which I think is specifically Starkitect. But I think the thing to note here that's really exciting is this looks like base building stuff to me, like base building parts and pieces. It's the same architecture stuff. And if you zoom in on some of these back buildings, you see how they look very simplified, almost like sort of just gray box or white box building style stuff. That to me could be a base building teaser. Again, going back multiple years in the past, okay, this was about 3-ish years ago, I was told from a very credible source that we would get base building with Nyx. That's what I was told. This was a long ass time ago. If that has been the plan as we've been going forward, maybe this is some sort of, maybe this is Starkitect, but maybe it's also a little bit of a deceptive tease towards base building. We'll have to see. Maybe don't read too much into it, but it's possible. Next, we have the weapon. Which one was this? This one was the... sorry, let me go back to it. This one was the Skarnov assault rifle right here. Pretty cool looking. I like that. No, that's not the Skarnov. It's the... that's the DMR, the Model K2 DMR. I like the look of those. Those are pretty slick. That is that, by the way. Remember when we saw that teaser that said heat emission, active cooling? That's the teaser right there. Remember that?
I need to call up Execute real quick. And be like, hey, told you.
You need to blast that in his face. Yeah,
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
And then this image here. This one is specifically Starkitect. Now, I think it's interesting because with this image, we're sort of seeing the Starkitect boundary and how it's placing buildings and structures. Got a landing pad, we got the buildings. These are the same buildings we saw in this initial image, this one here. Okay, I think maybe this is just a different view angle of it. So again, this is probably Starkitect, but I do think it's interesting we're seeing the building archetypes from base building that we were showed previously. So it kind of probably is a little bit of a mix. It's Starkitect, and that's how we're going to see this stuff. But at the same time, it's a little bit of a preview of some base building structures. Maybe these big refinery parts and pieces here. So.
And remember, that Nyx one has just recently, kind of went through this terraforming process. So the buildings here would be new, and I think they would be small because, again, you're just starting. So maybe that is part of that process of I guess, lore.
Yeah,
would be that it's that kind of building starter kind of. To your point, I think it's kind of a mix of both. I think it's Starkitect and testing of the building options that we're going to be able to build. I don't think we're going to get able to build these, but I think it's a testing bed to kind of see how do these interact with the landscape? How do they do that this way? Versus And I think looking at layouts, looking at what's appropriate, what's too big, what's too small, what feels like it fits, what feels like it doesn't. Because I wonder if that radius that you're seeing there with Starkitect, I wonder how big that radius truly is. And is that comparable to a land claim?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But I agree. It's in the land claims. Again, I don't know how CIG is going to approach the land claims thing. I think land claim sizes, obviously, they'll directly relate to the taxes you pay in regards to that. But it's going to be interesting to see. In terms of the cadence to get to base building, what I think we're going to see personally is I think we're going to get Starkitect first with Genesis. So we're going to get Genesis planets and Starkitect. That'll be part one. Then I think we are going to get some ancillary additions that we need, not necessarily that are core critical to base building, but some things that are going to make base building easier to do. So we're going to get Genesis and Starkitect. Then We're going to get things like ship-based refining and some other things that we need to sort of facilitate base building. I think we might get the decorator mode. Remember that whole thing that CIG talked to us about? Stuff like that. We're going to get some sort of like little ancillary things like that. Then sometime in 2027, we're going to get a sort of a tier 0 initial, they're not going to call it tier 0, but it's going to be the initial base building experience. I think it's going to be limited to small and medium bases or structure, small and medium structures. So I think we're going to build those with the Hover Construction Grav Cart and the CSV FM. I think that's going to be sort of the first initial part of base building in 2027. I think later on in 2027, I'm expecting us to get the Star Lancer build and be able to do large bases. And then I think there'll be a third step, which will be the extra large with the Pioneer much, further down the road. I still personally am putting the Pioneer and that level of base building in 2028. I know there's some people out there, I think Execute is one, putting the Pioneer as the IAE 2027 ship. I don't think there's any way in hell. Maybe, I hope he's right, but I still think Pioneer and extra large base building being a 2028 endeavor. Again, I think the goal of 2026 is to get the, Genesis in. 2027 will be the initial bits of base building, and then 2028 will be base building at scale. You know what I mean? So.
Well, and we're still going to need refining somewhere in that process because we're going to be able to refine the materials.
Yep. That's why I said those ancillary processes like decorator mode, ship-based refining, because they're going to want you to be able to take ships out to a location and be able to carry enough cargo and refine enough materials to build on site. They've sort of said that too. You know what I mean? So yeah. But there you go. Pretty exciting roadmap roundup. I think 4.11 is really shaping up to be something special. Again, in terms of excitement, my excitement is high with 4.11 because to me, 4.11 is the new what 4.0 was. You remember 4.0 brought out Pyro. It was our first time going to a new system. I don't really go to Nix much right now because to me, it's kind of a tease. I want the full system. And 4.11 looks like that's going to be it. That's the full system coming in and what will really round out the fact that, okay, we now have 3 systems. Does that then mean, as Socially Confused saying, that Castra will be the focus of 2028? Possibly, or sorry, 2027. But I actually don't think we'll get Castra next year. Well, actually, I think we'll get Castra next year, or at least part of it, but I think it'll be towards the end of next year. I think throughout the beginning and middle of next year, it's going to be all about building out Nix from a base building standpoint, further Starchitect improvement standpoint, and then late in the year next year, Citizen Connor IAE, they give us the Castra jump point. We can jump there. Maybe it's one planet, whatever, and they build it out the same way over the course of 2028 or whatever.
I'd be curious, and I wonder if we're going to get that partially with this behind-the-scenes look of how long it has taken since Genesis, when they pulled the trigger on Nix itself with Genesis. How long from them saying, all right, generate the planet, generate this, how long does that process take?
Yeah.
Because that'll give you a really good kind of idea, or not a really good idea, but a speculative idea of kind of like, okay, we've got 4 planets, 5 planets, maybe a moon or 2, maybe a couple other POIs. Let's plan for like maybe 10 to 15 POIs out somewhere, you know, in the system. Okay, we're looking at like a 8-month time frame for a new system. Okay, then we're probably not going to get one every year or every 6 months or something like that. It depends on again how many people are working on it, how fast this is working, and then when they step back and hit Pyro and Stanton with Genesis, how what's that process going to look like?
Yeah, exactly. And it's also Nix is a weird system to judge the building process or like the ability for CIG to create a system, because we do know that Nyx has sort of already been rebuilt. It was originally being done, I think, in Planet Tech V4. CIG even posted teaser images of some of the Nyx planets like 3 years ago. If you go into the vault, you can find those images. And then obviously they were redone with Genesis. So I think the first system that's going to be a really good metric for how fast CIG can get through them is going to be Castra. Now, one thing I think we do need to do is understand that it is clear that CIG has moved a lot of its environment artists from Squadron over into Star Citizen. We know that because they've been able to create so many crazy environments over the past, 16 months in Star Citizen, from ASD and Onyx facilities and many, many more. One could only think that is going to drastically accelerate the build out of Castra and Terra, I would assume. Much like how a lot of artists have moved on to the ship teams from Squadron. So hopefully we'll see that. I guess if there's one thing we haven't seen yet, and I do hope we see, is that I hope the teams that build out the locations and systems can start doing what the ship teams are doing, and maybe they already are, where we're getting more and more faster and faster. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see. Next, it is the ship showdown. The final 8 ships, everyone, have been chosen. No big surprises there, to be quite honest with you. At least none of these surprised me. We got the Reclaimer, the Clipper, the MDC, the Corsair, the Raylan, the Ironclad Assault, the M80, and the RSI Perseus. Shout out to the Reclaimer and the Corsair, damn it. Those two... They show up to the fight every time and they give it their all. You know what? It's funny with the Reclaimer is, for a ship that's in such a bad state, people love that ship. It's got the vibes. I said this in our Discord chat just the other day. That ship has the vibes. CIG, please get that ship queued for some gold standard work pretty soon. Okay, pretty soon. We need it. It's too good of a ship not to be brought up to standard, and it really does need it. And then another one is the Corsair. I mean, I love the Corsair. It was a ship that was always a concept ship for me that I had. Then it finally released. I was very happy with it. They stuck very close to the concept. I still love the ship. I'll never melt it. It's one of my favorite ships in the game. And I'm always a little surprised it does so well in these best in show things, but there's a lot of Corsair fans out there. We have 3 Drake ships in the top 8 list tonight. No big surprise, everybody. No big surprise.
I don't want to talk about it.
No big surprise.
Don't want to talk about it.
No big surprise. But yes, we're down to those here. So we'll start seeing how that lands out. The first race here is between the Ironclad and MTC. Ironclad Assault just absolutely decimated the MTC today. It wasn't even a fair fight. Next will be the Corsair and the Clipper. That's going to be an interesting one. Then the Reclaimer and the M80. Also kind of an interesting one just because it's such a contrast between those two ships. Then the Raylan and the Perseus. I got to say, I think it's going to come down to the Perseus and the Ironclad Assault as the final 2. And boy, that's going to be a good fight. Because they both do what they do so well. And what I mean by that is the Perseus is really one of CIG's best single-minded ships. It's a gunboat. It's got big guns on it. You go out there, you blow shit up with it, and it does that really well. It is the example of what a well-matured manufacturer kit gives you. And then you have the Ironclad Assault, which is sort of the flip of that, where it's not a single-minded ship. It's a ship that can kind of do a couple really interesting things. And it has some flexibility. You can use it for cargo. You can use it for a staging area. You can use it as your repair bay. It's got some flexibility there. So it's going to be really interesting to see what those two ships do in a head-to-head battle. Art, who do you think is going to win?
Well, listen, I would love to give a wonderful opinion, but Citizen Wake came out and just said, "Friends don't let friends drive Drake," and that's it
unfair.
for me. That,
Well, you're going to be singing a different tune May 2027. Okay, you're going to be singing a different tune, Citizen Wake. I promise. Genetonic says Perseus. Everyone, sound off in chat. Who do you think it's going to be in that final slot? Perseus or Ironclad Assault?
I think just purely on the numbers.
Thank you, Radar.
I see way more Perseus than I ever see an Ironclad, and it's such a well done ship, and the Ironclad had such a rocky start. And I know a lot of people got rid of their Ironclad because of all the issues.
Yeah.
Because it just wasn't worth the effort. So I think it's going to be the Percy on this one.
I'm going to agree
which I'm
with
fine
you.
with because I've got. So,
yeah, I'm actually going to agree with you. I think the Perseus is a fantastic ship because it did exactly what CIG said it was going to do. It's exactly what they sold us. Now, on the flip side to that, and I do think the Perseus probably deserves to win. It was just a success through and through. However, I will say, just as a slight counter to that, I do think that the Ironclad Assault is a ship success for CIG. And it launched rough, I'll give you that. I still think a big part of it launching rough was bringing on new feature tech that was critical to the ship's operation. That was, anytime more feature tech comes into the game, I get concerned. But regardless, now that things have settled and that experience is much better, the Ironclad Assault is just a well-done ship. It does a lot of things really, really well. It's a flexible ship. CIG knocked it out of the park on design. It's still its concept and what they sold us in the concept, but CIG did that thing that I love that they do sometimes where it's the concept, but they threw in a few extras. You know what I mean? With the VLSs and the fact that it's got the repair bay and all that stuff. So they threw in those extras. And I think that is, and I think there's a reason why the Ironclad Assault has sort of risen above the base Ironclad in terms of popularity. So I would be happy with the Perseus coming in number 1, Ironclad Assault number 2. I don't think that would be a bad showing for the Ironclad Assault at all. Both two really, really, really solid ships. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's hard not to give it to the Perseus at this stage too. I think one thing that really helps the Perseus is there's just been a lot of gameplay the CIG's put in that the Perseus is well suited for and gives you a reason to take it out. That sort of emergent gameplay that the Ironclad Assault is really good for, that's not something that CIG really champions very well, in my opinion. And maybe you can't really champion it very well because it is emergent. It's like the time where the Ironclad Assault is going to be really cool is for a time that you can't predict. It's going to be something you and your org are doing one night that's kind of weird and wild, but the Ironclad Assault ends up being the perfect platform for that. But it's hard to plan around that, where the Perseus, with its single-minded purpose gunship role, you can build experiences and curate experiences around that much easier, I think.
Well, I think right now, too, the Perseus itself is just in a really good spot. It can fight fighters. It can fight capital ships. There's not, to my org's embarrassment, it is what it is. A couple weeks ago, we ran executive hangars, and we had smaller ships, but there was a lot more of us, and we got spanked by two well crewed Perseus that just came in and caused nothing but chaos for us, to the point where we didn't even get into the executive hangar because we were too busy dealing with them, and they were knocking. I mean, we had Perseus there.
Yeah,
we had Perseus there, and they outplayed us. They were throwing missiles. They were very well done ships that are very threatening to everybody in the verse.
Well, I think too, it goes into this whole idea that the Perseus has a small crew or a small crew requirement, and every one of the crew members has a important role to fill. So it's a ship that when you do bring some friends out, there's really something for everyone to do on that ship and be a core part of the experience. You know what I mean? Excuse me. So no, I don't think the Perseus taking first slot in this year's Best of Show would be a bad thing. I think even people that aren't Perseus fans would understand that it's deserving of it. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of ways you could look at it, from the people like yourself, Art, that use it in game, you know, get to play it in its role and see the benefits there, to people like me who just look at it and go, man, CIG knocked it out of the park on design, aesthetics, build, you know, all that stuff. There's a lot of ways to judge this ship, and the Perseus kind of does well in all those categories. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be against it coming in first. Let's hope this year's Best in Show paint is awesome. Let's just say that. Okay, couple questions here. Let's get to a few questions, everyone. First one from Ruger Blood Moon. Ruger says, any way to get that motion image on your green screen? Possibly. I've been holding it back, to be honest with you, because I use it as my backdrop, and I've had other people want to use it for their backdrop, and I didn't want it to be too prolific. But yeah, I'll probably release it because I'm making a new one, so I'll probably release it.
Upgrade.
Yeah. Ruger Blood Moon says Gleam is telling me too many entries at 0. I'll look into that, but I have.
We got it fixed.
Okay, cool. It's fixed.
He went through Firefox and was able to get it in. It just was acting up on Chrome.
Interesting. Okay. Captain Kern says, do you think this could be our first space and underwater fighter ship with the Stingray? No. I think CIG will make dedicated water-based craft at some point in the future, probably post 1.0. VG says, sorry, you're creating too many entries. Okay, we fixed that issue. Okay, and that's all the questions. Okay, not many questions tonight. Okay, so what we're going to do is the last thing I wanted to talk about before we end the show tonight, and this is something I did want to talk about, was a little bit about gaming drama. And there's been a lot of content creators talking about this recently, not only with Star Citizen, SCL, but with GTA 6 and the whole leaker thing going on there. And then War Dogs, I think there was some back and forth online about people who were throwing some War Dogs criticism and people calling them crazy and stuff. I think we all have to remember that these are just video games, everybody. And then I saw Galactica, who, by the way, left CIG. She has left CIG, so good luck to her and future endeavors. But she made a post the other day that I thought was really interesting. It was part of the reason why I wanted to do a brief talk on this. We won't talk about it long, 5 minutes. But she was talking about, someone made a post and it was like saying that one game was going to be better than another game. And she was like, why do we have to do this? You can
Witcher in like Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah, Witcher and Elder Scrolls 6. And I agree with her. It's like, you can like both. You're allowed to like both. You are, by the way, you are allowed to like Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous and EVE Online and No Man's Sky. You're allowed to like them all.
But not Starfield.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you're allowed to like Starfield as well. They're different games. You can like all of them. It's totally fine. People freak out too much about this stuff. And it's just amazing though how much like negative energy there is around the gaming space right now. I can tell you right now too, I do feel one of the things I wanted to talk about slightly was a little bit of a rant. We're talking about video games in general right now, but one of my rants was this whole GTA thing, specifically centered around game ownership, the lack of GTA 6 releasing on physical media, Sony eventually not doing any physical media, and my sort of thing, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I just to be totally upfront, I do have two friends that work at Rockstar that are in pretty high level positions. I do think it's very unfortunate that the game has leaked out and is being sort of spoiled out there, only because I do know some of the developers and they were really excited. They're gamers too. One of my friends that works at Rockstar, he's a big Elite Dangerous fan, like a massive Elite Dangerous fan. But anyways, they're gamers. They were excited for this to be revealed in the way that Rockstar was going to plan on revealing it. So it's a little bit of a gut punch for them, I will say. Hopefully they're weathering this well. But this whole like physical media thing, and I was reading the CyberLeak manifesto, right, on like sticking up for gamers' rights and physical. Here's my answer to that. Where the fuck were you 15 years ago? Because this whole lack of ownership thing has been going on for years. And if you didn't know that, where have you been? This goes all the way back to Xbox 360 era, people. I have Xbox. I have Xbox 360 games that I have the physical media for that will not play anymore. Why? Because the physical media part doesn't matter. It's still had to connect to a server to validate. So it still will not play the game. So whenever I see these people doing this crap now where they'll leak a game for this protest, I do get angry. I'm like, where were you 15 years ago when this would have mattered? Because now you're so late to the party that forget Rockstar and Sony. The entire industry's moved forward. Forget physical games. We're not about to have physical consoles in another generation. I promise you that. People I know that work in gaming, we have conversations all the time about this next console generation we're going to get will be the last. We're still going to have consoles, but we're not going to be in your home. It's going to be all cloud-based gaming. You will not only will you not own the game, you're not going to own the damn console. You'll pay a subscription fee to play. So again, my issue is that this whole like manifesto thing with the game stuff is so behind the ball. I'm talking by over a decade, easily, if not 2 decades, 20 years. That's how bad it is. So that's why I can only assume the people that do this are really young, because obviously they have not been around for a while or have seen gaming evolve. And unfortunately, you're way too late to the party. The ship has already sailed. It's over. That's my rant on that. Art, what'd you think of War Dogs?
Sure.
We're going to talk about a non-Star Citizen game from it. What'd you think of War Dogs?
War Dogs was...
Give me your War Dogs review. I see some people in chat saying they love War Dogs. Give me your War Dogs review.
Yeah. You even said it, even though it was me, but it has your name attached to it, so you loved War Dogs too. Honestly, it's been a long time since I've played a game like that even, yes, it had a little bit of a rough start. Devs were fully like, hey, like we weren't expecting this. We weren't, and they were pretty quickly to post stuff about it. Hey, we're working on it. This is what's going on. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was a fun game. I enjoyed it the entire time. I got mad. I got frustrated. I threw my headphones like twice because I was getting killed by things. But, I adapted. I changed. I got fuzzy in my webcam. I need to fix that.
I think it was just your excitement.
My excitement.
For talking about War Dogs.
Made it fuzzy. But yeah, it was a really good time. I like the mechanics of it. I got, we had some org members that we all got together and played together, and they were flying helicopters and they were making a ton of money. I do not fly, so I was fighting and losing a lot of money. And I was like, I finally got to the point where I told them, I said, stop talking about how much money you are making. I don't want to hear it because I am almost in the negative. And there were several times I went into the zone with nothing on to, steal somebody else's kit off their body. So it was fun. I had a good time. I like the mechanics of it. I like the money factor of it. I wish I really hope that what's with the oh hey we got subs.
Oh,
We got subs.
it's OJ. He's back. Everyone, OJ. Once again, kick down the door. 50 community subs. OJ, how are you doing, buddy? Thank you so much for that. You don't know how much it means to me. I'm trying to find my double. There it is. Oh, that's way too small for OJ. I got to boost this up. That's a disgrace.
Face size.
Yep.
Face size.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I got to get it over mine. You're right.
Yeah,
007.
Got to scale it.
Yep. There we go. Perfect.
That well done. That was great placement.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's
perfect.
That's good.
OJ, thank you very much, buddy. You are a legend. I appreciate that support. OJ says, I love how I also get the comment. Oh, he's back. That's right. You are back. Thank you, buddy. I sincerely appreciate that. Thank you very much. The support is, seriously, it means a lot, and it helps a lot too. So thank you very, very much. But you are truly a VIP here.
I do hope that CIG kind of takes some of that money mechanic, that economy mechanic about, as I'm healing stuff, I'm making money. As I'm doing this, I'm making money, and kind of putting that towards ships and missions and multi-crew. If they took that kind of style and put that into multi-crew, it be a different
there's lessons to be learned from there for sure. Yeah.
So I like where they're going with stuff. I look forward to, and they've been blatantly honest when they say, hey, you're not going to get regular updates from us. You're going to get bug fixes and balancing, and then we're going to put our guys are going to put the heads down, and we're going to do more content. And it's not going to be regular. Don't expect a bunch of stuff all year. We'll get to it when we can. We'll patch what we need to patch, and we're going to keep moving. So good. I enjoyed it for a weekend. I can't wait for more.
Yeah. OJ, once again, buddy, appreciate that. Thank you very much, man. Everyone give OJ an 07. That's legendary. Yeah, my thoughts on War Dogs. I played it a little bit. I did not play it a lot. So my review is not from extensive gaming in War Dogs. But what I checked out is really, really cool. I like it. I like that people are enjoying it. I like when anyone enjoys a game. Funny enough, there's aspects to War Dogs that I don't like. It's not like my perfect military shooter. I really don't think there'll ever be a military shooter that eclipses Arma 3 for me. I actually don't even think Arma 4 is going to do that, to be quite honest with you. I have serious doubts Bohemia can even pull that off. That being said, I think what War Dogs is attempting to do, they do really, really well. And one other thing I really like about War Dogs is the developer. I did a lot of research into the developer of War Dogs. I forget their name. What's the name? I forget their name. Bulkhead, yes. And I watched some of their videos and stuff. They seem like they're really, really passionate about the game, the community, their approach. I really appreciate that. So I want them to succeed. I want War Dogs to be amazing. I'm very happy that people are enjoying it. When I see people saying War Dogs, and they're just loving it, it gets me excited. I think it's awesome. In my playing of War Dogs, I liked everything. The only thing I didn't like about War Dogs, and it's not a War Dogs problem, it's a modern shooter problem. And this is just because I'm an old man, I think, which is this thing, and it's actually in games that are non-shooters too. It's where a game developer says, okay, here's a list of weapons, here's a list of vehicles, here's a list of stuff. You have to skill up, earn money to buy XYZ. By doing that, you've now stated that this thing is better than this thing. And the reason it's better is because it costs more money. So it now has to have additional stats. When it's in a military shooter scenario, I like it to be more about skill set, organization stuff, and less about item stats personally. And again, this is in stuff that's not shooter based. Blizzard and everyone knows I love Blizzard. They drive me crazy with this shit where they make like the same item. If it's tinted red, you get it in one dungeon, but then you got to do a super hard dungeon to get it tinted purple. So right away, they've made this weird status of like the purple one is better, or the green one is better, or the blue one is better. It's like, okay, it's just a subjective decision. I just want the color I want, right? In a game like War Dogs, I would prefer it be a little bit more like Arma, where it's more just about the player's skill and less the item stat. But most modern shooters attempt to do it in this way, and I think that War Dogs is doing it in terms of doing it that way. They're doing it really, really well. Like one of the best executions of it I've seen. However, War Dogs is doing some really cool stuff that I think they need to be given some serious props for. The base building stuff, super cool. Vehicle stuff I thought the vehicle integration's decent, not great. I think there's a lot of room for improvement they can do with the vehicles. The vehicles right now are very like Ghost Recon Breakpoint to me, when I would like to see them being a little bit more like higher skill based, and also there being a lot more vehicle effects and stuff that come into play. For example, I don't know if it's intended or not, but like none of the helicopters had any sort of downwash or obfuscation through throwing up dirt and smoke and stuff when they landed, you know, like little things like that. But one of the cool things I saw, and I know it's not in the playtest for War Dogs yet, but in their video, they talked about the black market sort of system, and how you're going to be able to like place bets on yourself and stuff. Super cool. Love the innovation. So I really dig it. It's one of those games where like, it's not Arma for me, but that's okay. I don't even think Arma 4 is going to be Arma for me. But what War Dogs does, I think they do extremely well. I am excited for the game to come out. I did purchase it. I didn't do that thing that a lot of people do where I play it and I go, I had problems. I didn't like, I'm returning it. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm excited to play more of it. I just need to play more of it. And I think it's probably you can probably back up on this a little bit, where I just jumped in random games. It probably is a hell of a lot of fun with your friends.
It's a lot more fun with friends.
Yeah. And that's why I would definitely withhold judgment on War Dogs until you play it with a bunch of friends. Because I could tell the experience is probably amazing with friends.
And I'll tell you, you know, even though there is a price point for unlocking better things, and I started that process, you know, I grabbed the AK as soon as I could, and I grabbed the Galil. I'll tell you what, I died more to that stupid freaking starting double barrel shotgun than I died to anything else in the freaking game.
Yeah.
Because, you know, these guys are setting, you know, that you jump through a window or you go around the house and the guy just kind of peeks out, pops you, and you're like, well, you know, but I will say, I talked a lot of smack. And then I also was really nice to the enemy team a couple times, and they even rezzed me. Had a couple guys.
There you go.
You know, the other enemy team, they rezzed me. You know, you got to have fun with it, and it was an enjoyable moment. It wasn't, and I think that this compared to Arma and stuff like that, Arma is just so complex.
Arma's more their onboarding experience is horrible too for Arma.
And for us to, you know, get a group of people together to play, we have to then set up what mods we're going to run, if we're going to run mods, all the buttons, we have to walk people through that process. Whereas War Dogs it's not as gamey and as arcadey as Battlefield per se. There is some stuff there that, you know, it requires a little bit of talent. The helicopters are heavier, they feel heavier, you can't do all the fun things with them and stuff like that.
I will say that War Dogs sits in that nice little middle ground. It'll be easier to
get people in.
Yeah, and I do think it sits in that nice little middle ground where it's not as sterile as Arma. It's not as Michael Bay as Battlefield. You know what I mean? It sits in that nice kind of middle ground. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't tried it, give it a chance. I think what it's trying to do, it does really well. And again, it's an early access game. It's only going to get better. And if this is the foundation they're starting from, I think the future looks bright for them. And, you know, to circle back around, just in terms of a gaming thing in general, because again, we talked a little bit about GTA 6 and the leaks and and game ownership. We talked a little bit about War Dogs. We talked a little bit about Star Citizen and their rough time right now. These are all games. To suffice it to say, we want them all to be successful. It's okay to like multiple games. You can like Grand Theft Auto and Star Citizen and EVE Online. You could play all these games together. We should want them all to be successful. We should want them all to learn lessons from the next game. So enjoy being a gamer. Try not to get too wrapped up in the negativity surrounding it. I've seen so many damn content creators and gaming personalities out there making negative gaming content that's just shitting on this developer, shitting on this game, shitting on that. It's like, oh my God, just get off the computer, walk outside exactly anything, you know. And I know that stuff generates clicks. That's what people watch. I get it. But remember, this is gaming. Think back, and to do a full circle, think all the way back to what I mentioned at the beginning of this, those floods in Nepal.
That I'm amazing. Oh,
well, exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
Well, now you made me the asshole.
I felt bad, but there's some pretty bad shit going on in the world. We're all pretty fortunate to be playing games we love, and just enjoy the ride. Everyone, it's been a great stream. We're going to, don't forget to get in on that Stinger giveaway.
Next stream.
Next stream is probably going to be on Monday. I'll get that up on the schedule. I don't know exactly what we're covering yet. We'll do the Stingray giveaway, but it will be on Monday because I got some stuff happening this weekend. And me and Art will be down at the StarJump Summit venue on Friday doing a little tech scout meeting
with Shadowkin.
With the venue. So it's going to be awesome. Okay. We're going to raid someone today that I've never raided on Twitch. I don't know who this person is. Hopefully they're not terrible. Give them a little StarJump love when you go over there. Throw them a follow. We're going to be raiding Cleo Pexty.
Oh, wait. One more time before we go.
Yeah.
Space Whale impersonation.
Okay, Space Whale impersonation. Because Gentiles says Shadowkin going to be there. Yes, Shadowkin's going to be there. He's going to be on the StarJump strike team. By the way, I thought I saw someone in chat mentioned or ask if we needed any additional help. It's possible.
I talked to Thorn.
Okay.
It's Thorn.
Possible.
I fresh out.
Last thing I'll say is, there we go. Going to send you all over to Cleo Pexty. Make sure you give them some StarJump love. Hit that follow button. We got a 10-second countdown. Everyone have a great weekend. Thanks for the patience with me as I help my daughter with some things, as I move some shows around. You've all been very patient and very generous and sweet with your comments on that. So everyone have a great night. Seeing you over there.